could I be a coach? Is this possible for me? So in the intervening time of when she had said that to me and when I had that thought, it was probably nearly 2 years. I used to believe that I was broken on the inside and that I was unlovable. You know, they were two deeply ingrained, I suppose, limiting beliefs that were impacting my life. And through the last few years and all that I've learned and how I've grown, I know I was able to identify like they're just limiting beliefs. I can change them. They're not serving me.
Hello, my name is Exit. You are listening to the podcast of Partners in Positivity, the place for deep conversations. So have a good
Welcome to the Partners in Positivity podcast with
Aisling Burnett
and myself, Sarah Harty, leaders of EBP, SBP, DHBs, that's emotionally bulletproof, spiritually bulletproof, divine human beings, here to wake up and shake up the nation through positivity, humour and shared wisdom. Today in the podcast, we have a gorgeous and gracious friend of ours who we've been waiting for this moment for maybe the whole length of the podcast to have her on to hear her wisdom and share it with you. Her name is Gillian McGann. She is a certified wellness coach and NLP practitioner. And we cannot start this podcast without saying that she has to be one of the most positively influential people in our lives in this moment in time. So thanks, Gillian, for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Aisling. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to have this beautiful conversations with you both.
Oh, Gilly, it's been so long. I have to share with everyone that we asked Gillian, invited her to the podcast, I think when the podcast started nearly 3 years ago now. And what's really important to recognise about the invitation is that Gillian made it clear to us that it wasn't the right time for her, and until she was ready, she wouldn't be on the podcast. And we're so grateful that in her own growth and development and becoming a coach and an LLP practitioner, that courage and that confidence is now shining through for her to be able to share where she's at right now with us.
That's right, Sarah, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. Yeah, I remember when you issued the invitation, and it was really great, and it was definitely something that inside my head I said I really want to do that someday, but there was definitely a lot of fear about, inside my head around, oh God, I don't think I could do that now, or I'm not feeling like I'm where I should be, or, I can't be someone who's on a podcast and like, I wasn't fully able at the time to truly value the words that I wanted to share with everyone. So yeah, you mentioned there that I've done a bit of growth in between now and then, and yeah, that's very true. And I mean, we're all evolving. I'm definitely still growing as each day goes by, but this time when you a couple of weeks ago you issued out the invitation, I just felt like, yeah, this is the time, and I'm so thrilled to be here.
Jill, and I love that you mentioned, I think people listening will really resonate with, I don't think I can do this because I'm not sure if I'm where I should be right now. And it brings me back to some talks I did with 50-year students in a secondary school recently, whereby I was explaining to them with their career and choosing their career path, maybe there's jobs out there that they haven't heard of or came across yet. And certainly for me, leaving secondary school, I never knew what a coach was or a life coach. And I only really recently found out about that area of life, I think. So I'm curious to know, for you becoming the wellness coach, the certified wellness coach, an NLP practitioner, when did that come to light for you as a career path?
That's such a gorgeous question, Sarah, and thanks for asking me. I'd be delighted to share with you and your listeners. I would say, really only heard about coaching and like life coaching. That only came really into my awareness, I suppose, a few years ago. And like at the time I thought like, oh, like, is it Tony Robbins? He's a coach, and he's such a really amazing human being, very influential, and helps like so many thousands, probably millions of people around the world. And aligning myself with doing something like that seems so far-fetched. And I recall my best friend saying to me, I must have been maybe back in 2019 or 2020, do you know what, Jill? You'd actually make a really good coach. And I thought, what? Where did she get that idea from? Like that? I could never be a coach. That was the thought in my head at that time. But she's a beautiful soul, and she kind of planted that seed, and she's very good at kind of softly nudging me in the direction, like in a very supportive way. And it's definitely a seed that took root. Even though I didn't realize it at the time, it stuck in my mind. And it's funny because I started the coaching course maybe, I think, September 2021, and it wasn't really until maybe a couple of months before that I really started to entertain the idea of, could I be a coach? Like, is this possible for me? So in the intervening time of when she had said that to me and when I had that thought, it was probably nearly 2 years. And I had been working on, and I'm still working on, my own belief in myself, and growing, not just belief, but growing my self-worth. So I think working on those things, getting professional help with those things, fed into me asking that question, is this possible for me? And the answer going, I think maybe it is. So I had gone from this, I could never do that, to maybe this is possible for me. Maybe this is an avenue that's open to me. And that, I found that quite exciting. Yes, there was fear, definitely a little bit of fear, but there was also that excitement of the possibility. And of course, what do you do next? The natural step is to go on to Google and start finding out more. What is a coach? What does a coach do? Learning more about coaching. And I was like, maybe I could be experience coaching. And at the time, one of my friends was actually on a coaching course and asked me, hey, could I practice on you? So that experience in itself of being a practice coach client, I got to really experience what it is, in practice, by being that practice client. And that definitely kind of escalated my, I really, this is something that really interests me. It just sparked something. Like the experience I had with that, where my friend worked on a limiting belief I was holding, and she worked with me to examine it, identify it, examine it, kind of walk me through, is that really serving you? Is that really what you believe? And kind of that whole process was just fascinating. I was so excited, I remember, after that. And I think that kind of, from then I was like, hey, I think I'm going to try this. I am excited. I'm gonna try this. And I think I started looking up courses, and I kind of, was like, how can I do this? How can I find a way? To I had to pay for it as well. So I was like, I'm gonna find a way. And I just came across a course that was based around wellness, because I have an interest in, health and movement and that kind of, that really, I have a natural interest in that. I love being outside. I love being moving. I love learning about like how to nourish my body. So when I stumbled across a wellness coaching course, I thought, oh wow, this is really ringing my bell. So I got excited and I just figured out, like, can I fit this into my schedule? Where can the payments? And it just kind of came together, and I started.
That's so gorgeous, Jill. And I don't know why I keep reflecting on the fifth year students, but maybe because now they're just after finishing their exams, the junior cert and leaving cert in Ireland. But if you don't mind me asking or sharing with the audience, what age are you right now?
I'm 42 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is fascinating. I feel like I'm connecting to that young person as well that's choosing what to start her life off with in terms of a career, and you're reshaping your life again in the last year or two at 40 to go out and be a wellness coach, which you weren't aware of 10 years ago, So I think that's fascinating. And we do step into that vulnerability again of starting something new. And it just goes to show, I think, that like that, trying and testing things out and then using maybe the process of elimination if it doesn't work for you to see what does serve you. So you did a coaching session with someone and you really got to understand this is what I could become. Yeah. So well done on taking that step,
Yeah. I love that you say that I tried a few things. So I should probably maybe talk about how did I get to the point of where I thought about coaching. And I guess this story I'm about to tell weaves in beautifully with how the three of us met. So I guess I'd reached a point in my life where I felt that I had, I'd done everything that I was supposed to do, and yet there was something where I just didn't feel fulfilled. I was like, hold on a minute, I've got to this point in my life where I did what I was supposed to do. I went to college and then I got the job, but there was an emptiness. And so I started to question, well, like, what's going on here? And, at the time, I suppose looking back from the vantage point I'm at now, I can see at the time that, like, there was certain things that I was doing in my life that it was maybe kind of, I was feeling those feelings of unfulfilledness, and then I didn't want to feel like that. So maybe I was like drinking a little bit more than I should to kind of like not feel that. I was kind of at that point, but I didn't want, but I knew that path I was on, I didn't want to stay on it, but I was unsure of how to get off it. I hope that makes sense. So I suppose I reached a point then where I was like, okay, I want to get off. I made a decision to get off the path. I had to come to the point where I was like, okay, this path is not good for me. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy. I'm going to make a decision. Right, I got to find another path. And it's so funny. Once I made that decision for myself, I went, right, I'm looking for another path. I didn't know what that path was. I just knew I wanted another path. And that was it. I just needed to make the decision. So what happened? Well, I suppose I started listening to like uplifting videos on YouTube just because I wanted to create better feelings. I wanted to feel more alive. And I found a particular video on YouTube that I used to play every morning. And it was great. It was really uplifting and it used to make me feel really good. I suppose put me in a good feeling mood to start my day. And I'd never had that before. And it was great. And I actually listened to that video nearly every day for a year. And I think it led me to the point where, I started looking at what books could I read. And one of those books that came into my world was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. What a great book. I mean, it was so much fun. From that book, I learned about Robert Kiyosaki's amazing game, the cash flow game, and the history behind why he created it. It was just, I loved it. Yeah. So one day, I was Googling, oh my God, can you play this game in Ireland somewhere? And I suppose that led me to a cash flow website club that was set up in Ireland, and I got chatting to the guy who ran that online. And of course, that led me into the world of personal development events, which is where I met you two amazing ladies.
And can I ask, what was your biggest inspiration from Rich Dad Poor Dad for people that have never heard of that author or read the book?
Well, one of the guiding principles in that book is pay yourself first. So I think that's really important. It's aligned with the valuing yourself, and that how I had grown my own self-value. And here was a principle going, pay yourself first, meaning value yourself before anyone else. And it's not selfish. It's actually you're looking after yourself, so therefore you can give back and look after others. It all weaves in. So that would be one of the most important lessons I learned from Robert Kiyosaki. And it's sometimes I still have to remind myself of it, but it is there, and it's really helped me quite a lot.
Jilly, I just want to ask you this question. I just want to say thanks for all the amazing positive energy that you give to us, and I love even witnessing it when we're out hiking with somebody that's never met you before, and you're just like pouring this love and positive energy all over them. So my question really is, what goes through your mind before you do that? Because I love watching it from start to finish. And why do you do that? Like, what's going on?
Thanks, Ash. That's a great question. And thanks for reminding me how much I love meeting new people. And that's probably why I love going on the P&P hikes, because there's always so many amazing people that go on that, and loads of new people every time. I think it has to do with one of my deep soul values is connection, in-person connection with other people. And it's one of the things that really feeds my soul. And I think that's why I probably get so excited. And as you have so eloquently described, I pour love into people. I'm so excited to meet people, hear their stories, find out about them, chat to them, just connect with them. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful way to spend our time together. And I think it's a win-win situation for both people involved. So yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I just love if you would bring us back to 2021, because I know there was a deep impact that you left on people's hearts when you really started to put yourself out there. You were just flourishing as a person, as a coach. Some of them posts, can you just take us through some of them posts and where it came from and some of the nice messages?
Yeah, I think 2021 was a really big growth spurt for me in terms of personal development and my spiritual development, and particularly perhaps my confidence. And I just felt I was encouraged to post by a beautiful mentor of mine, a wonderful woman, and she inspired me and encouraged me and said, you can post these beautiful thoughts, and that I felt able to do it at that time because of the confidence I was feeling. And you're right, I think I posted, I'm not sure how many, between May and July 2021 on my Instagram, for anyone who follows me on Instagram. And I became they're quite open and vulnerable, some of the posts. Quite raw, some of them, and some of them are just how I was feeling in the world about everything, like about love, about self-talk. I was mentioning to Sarah before we went live on air here, the post I did around self-talk. For me, that was something I really had to work on. the voice in my head was at times not very nurturing or supportive, and I consciously decided I wanted to make an effort to change that. And it was uncomfortable, and I was inconsistent for quite some time when I started, but over time I became more consistent at recognizing perhaps the unsupportiveness and not accepting it, deciding I wasn't going to accept it, and perhaps helping that voice to become more of, I suppose, a cheerleader for myself, you know, softer, kinder, more compassionate to myself. And that was a huge game changer for me in my growth. An absolute huge. To have that voice in my head become my friend, that was a big turning point. It just helped me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved every single one of those posts, and I also loved reading the comments, what people were saying. So I know that they say once that we express something that's really true for us and we express that part of our soul, that we're free and we're happy then. But so I'm assuming that's how you felt. How did you feel then when you were getting the comments back and you knew that it had touched people as well?
I wasn't expecting to get so much beautiful feedback from people, and it brings me back to what I spoke about a little bit earlier, how connection, it's really so important to me. And I felt like I was connecting with people even though I wasn't in front of them or with them, like in real life. I felt a connection had been made there, or I felt, wow, I just shared something and it's opened someone else's eyes, or now they're going to read a book, or they are now feeling that they're able to maybe have a conversation with someone in their life that they couldn't have before. It just made me feel like I was helping people in an important way, and it was amazing, and it spurs me on to this day that that's really what I am here to do, to help people in any way I can.
Thanks so much for being so vulnerable and open to share all of that, especially about your self-talk, Gilly. That was a huge game changer for you, and we could see that in your essence throughout the last couple of years, that huge change and the efforts that you went to do that and be consistent eventually. There's nothing you want more for your friend than to feel good about themselves, do you know, and that is the real work, I think. Even if you're at the top level of your career, or if you're famous or whatever, if you don't like yourself, if you're not kind to yourself, it's all for nothing at times, do you know. So well done, that's huge. I'd love to know if it's something that you'd like to share. I think it is public and out there. There was a lovely poem that you wrote on self-love.
Yeah.
Would you like to share that? Would you like to read that out, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think I shared it there on one of the posts. So yeah, it's out there in the public. I think it's just over here in a notebook. Let me just... Yeah, I think I just called it Love. Love is my superpower, and it has freed me from the chains of my fears and limiting beliefs. I have let these go now. The worry and anxiety of other people's opinions of me and what I am doing is now gone, and I am light as a feather. I float freely now towards my heart's desires. I am filled with courage and confidence in the pursuit of my desires. I am filled with joy and happiness each day while I am taking the actions that are bringing me closer to my desires. I greatly appreciate any obstacles I encounter along the way because of what I learned from them and how they help me to grow. This growth takes me even closer to my desires, and I am achieving all the things that I have imagined about for so long. The outpouring of love and support for me is incredible, and it encourages me daily to continue in pursuit of all that I desire. I am in love with my life. I greatly and deeply appreciate my amazing life. I am love. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read that aloud and share it again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I think it's riveting and it's gorgeous that you got to that level to be able to write something like that for yourself.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so impressed. And because I spent so many years in the public speaking club Toastmasters, and Ash, you always brought up that book that you read that I haven't read yet, and I'd love to, the Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's about people having an internal, external image of themselves. And the outside world only ever really sees the external, but only you know your internal world. And when I was president in the club, I watched people that had prepared for weeks deliver speeches that were high level and they got great feedback on, but I seen in their expression, in their face when they sat down and nobody was watching, that they were disappointed on some level for one minor mistake that nobody noticed. So I took the time out to help build back their confidence before they left the room, so that they come back and do the same again next week. So I think it's incredible for you sharing this with us, that the time you spent in your self-talk, really building yourself up. And if you were able to measure the difference in yourself right now from back then to where you are now, how would you measure it?
Yeah, I think we were having a chat about this earlier. Like, I'm definitely still a work in progress. Just I'm not a fully enlightened being by no means at all. But this journey of growth, I mean, it's not all flowers and roses, you know. It can be sticky and uncomfortable and messy, but if you have a good support group around you and keep trucking and keep the faith and ask for help when you need it, you know, you can get through it. And it's a pathway that I'll be on probably for the rest of my life. But to go back to your question, sorry, I went a bit off piece there. Yeah, so looking back from where I am now, if I look at myself 5 years ago, that version of me could never imagine this version right now, me on a podcast speaking about loving myself. That would have been incomprehensible. So, I mean, I've come leaps and bounds, but I have so much more to go on this journey. I mean, I was saying earlier on that, like, yeah, I've come far, but I just feel like I'm at the base camp of Everest, and that's what's ahead of me, and that's thrilling and exciting. And I definitely feel able for it, even though I know that parts of it are going to be tough going. Yeah.
Jill, what would you say to someone that's tuned in now, listening, and maybe is in a dark place or a down place in their life, or is only now maybe being exposed to the idea, concept, belief that your thoughts and your mind are changeable, how you feel about yourself, you can change that. What would you say to that person now, starting off from the place that you like, the place that you were in 5 years ago?
First of all, I'd say, wow, you're amazing, well done, and congratulations for, like, even recognising that you want to, you know, make a change. And it doesn't matter if you don't know what the hell that change is going to look like. So just know that it can happen. And the fact that you've just made that decision, that's it. You've begun. You're on the first step. And I know it's hard to, but you can trust that the next step will reveal itself to you if you keep looking. And just open up and talk to people. It's okay. Like, even if there's just one person, you know, that will help. And everybody is rooting for you, even though you don't realise it yet. Everybody loves you. There's so much love for you. Through this process, that's another thing I've realised, like, people just are amazing. Like, they really want the best for you. And we don't know that because we don't maybe open up, or we're afraid to. But even if you show like a minuscule amount of vulnerability, that's all it takes. And people are like, oh my God, yeah, I know something, I can help that. Or it just opens the floodgates. So you're doing great. I started looking on YouTube. I couldn't even talk to a human. Like, I started looking at videos on YouTube, you know? And like, that's easy. You can do that. Just uplifting videos. That then started giving me a little bit of belief. And then I kind of opened up then to my best friend, and, you know, that's it. So you got this. You're loved.
Wow, Jilly. And I do think that that's your superpower, is giving those encouraging messages to people and planting those beautiful seeds. Can you talk to us a little bit about the power of belief?
Aisling, you couldn't ask a more beautiful question. Belief. It's probably the most important thing I've learned through this journey, is that beliefs are not fixed. Okay, they are completely, you are in control. You can choose your beliefs. I mean, this was a totally massively new concept to me when I came across it first. It was in a personal development seminar, and the trainer went onto the topic of your beliefs. What do you believe? Why do you believe that? Where do those beliefs come from? And really deep dived into that. And I had never questioned beliefs. I didn't realise that, you know, I had just adopted some of my beliefs. They had been passed down to me, you know, parents, teachers, family members, you know, some friends, culture. And I'd never questioned them. And this was also another big moment for me, realising that, like, oh, well, why do I believe that I can't do that? Wait a minute, this guy's telling me that I can change my beliefs, so I can choose another belief. Oh, wow, that sent me down a path of a bit of a Google rabbit hole, I'm not going to lie, about beliefs. And I got really interested in this concept of you can change your beliefs so to beliefs that are going to serve you and help you to create more success in all areas of your life. A big influence was Dr. Bruce Lipton. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours of my life I've lost on YouTube consuming his videos, but he was huge. And it was actually something in his videos that led me to the amazing coach, therapist, psychologist, energy healer that I see now for the last 4 years, who's helped me immensely. But belief is key. Belief in yourself and belief in the possibility of change, because we absolutely can choose our beliefs, and we can choose them so that they serve us, and the changes that will just unfold in our life from all of that, the momentum that comes from that, is absolutely limitless, just limitless. So I'm a big fan of belief.
That's really amazing. And I just want to, it's kind of random, but I just want to say how much I love Dr. Bruce Lipton as well. And I really appreciate his work, because it's absolutely mind-blowing. And as you said, limitless. Like, he says things like we can actually change our DNA. And I know for me, and a lot of people, we think that's completely fixed. But he's spreading awareness on that, and that's like, wow, you know?
Jill, I love your expression on belief and your passion for it. And I know you're going to be on the stages of and in front of many audiences around Ireland and across the world speaking about belief. And I so look forward to being in the audience, looking up at you and rooting for you. And just, I can visualise already all the minds that are going to fire and wire new brain cells on that and thoughts. I would love if you could, though, for the audience right now, give us a couple of examples of what was a belief and what is now your belief on that you have chose to change. Even just simple examples. It doesn't have to be any big thing or too private of a thing, so people can really step into that.
Yeah. Well, I know I've previously spoke about, you know, becoming a coach, and how when that idea was originally presented to me, I was like, oh, sure, I shot it down with a limiting belief of like, but sure, I could never be that, you know, which is a huge limiting belief. And now I'm here, right here. So I can already see just from that one example alone, that, everything that just opens up so many possibilities. I used to believe that I was broken on the inside, and that I was unlovable. They were too deeply ingrained, I suppose, limiting beliefs that were impacting my life. And through the last few years and all that I've learned and how I've grown, I know I was able to identify they're just limiting beliefs. I can change them. They're not serving me. Now, it's not like you can just change beliefs like that overnight. It takes conscious effort, and you have to reinforce the new belief. In my case, I'm not broken, and I'm lovable. I'm worthy of love. It takes, and still I have to remind myself daily. I actually used for a while there to help me along a technique, mirror work. I heard about it through a wonderful lady called Louise Hay, and you would repeat an affirmation in the mirror, something as simple as looking yourself in the eye and saying, I love you, which is how I started out, trying to flip that limiting belief. Actually quite difficult when you start. I remember I would cry a lot because I didn't believe it when I started doing it. And I kind of changed it up and I kind of started saying, I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. And I felt comfortable with that, and I kept saying it every day and day out in the mirror. And that really helped me to turn those beliefs around. Although it took me a long time, to get it deeply ingrained. But I know now. I know I'm not broken.
Woo, well done.
Yeah, I also had that I used to think that I was broken, and I think it's one that floats around in the collective consciousness, especially when you have an experience that you think you might not heal from. You think you're this broken person, and when I went to an event before, like a Heal Yourself event, one of the first things that I seen was he was teaching you're not broken. You've successfully created an outcome from what you have experienced. And I was like, oh my God. He was introducing the concept of you're not actually broken. But I just thought that was it. I was broken forever and I could never get back to being not broken. So I love that you found a way to flip that. It's really liberating to feel that again, because I think that's, if you were to think that forever, it's just really doom and gloom. No one would want to ever feel like that.
Gilly, I'm so fulfilled with all that we've covered in this conversation that I'm happy for it to come to a close if you are. And my final point to you would be of the highest respect and appreciation for allowing us to see inside your mind. It's a gift that you're giving to us and giving to the world. And really, because I learned so much from a book that we read years ago called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, where he describes the inner workings of the mind. And he says that we are the experts. We are our own experts of our mind, and that you could spend your life, if you had a major challenge in your life and you went to a psychologist or you went to therapy, unless you are completely honest about what's going on inside your mind, the voice that's inside you, then you're not going to be able to make the change that the therapist or the psychologist wants for you. So thank you so much for your honesty and for sharing that, because it's private, it's personal. You don't have to share it with the world. And thanks so much for coming forward from an invitation that we sent out 3 or 4 years ago, because you're in a great place and you're in a place of self-love, and you're willing to allow you be who you are right now and let other people see that. And we would have shown you off to the world 3 or 4 years ago, whenever it was, because we loved you since the day that we met you. But we're so grateful that you're in this place right now. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for those beautiful words, Sarah and Aisling. I'm deeply appreciative for this conversation we've had today, and for you giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts, I suppose, and part of my journey that I've been on so far. And yeah, I look forward to more beautiful and enlightening conversations in the future.
Yeah, Jilly, thanks so much. And I know we're saying that we sent out the invitation 3 years ago. For me, it feels like time has just collapsed, and I don't even really feel that length of time. We always kind of knew that it was meant to be, and that you had an amazing message to share. And you're such a gorgeous person, and you're just going to touch so many people, and I'm so happy.
And if you want to read those wonderful posts that Gillian wrote from 2021, you can find her on Instagram at the Travel and Wellness Explorer, or reach out to her on direct message for wellness coaching or NLP.
Thanks so much for listening in. We really hope you got something amazing from that for you. And if you ever want to meet us in person, or meet Jilly and experience her positive energy, we do group hikes once a month, and you're more than welcome to join us for them. We normally pop them on our Instagram to let you know where we're off to and what's happening. And if it's a thing that you'd like to build your confidence, that's what Sarah is an absolute expert in. She helps people build their confidence and communicate in a way that's better for them, find their voice. You can find her at heartyhumans.com.
And you may or may not know that Ash has a beautiful space called My Energy Room, where she offers compassionate massages, healing, and different forms of alternative therapy, including reconnective healing or EFT tapping. Ashleen's page for healing on Instagram is called My Energy Room. And finally, if you want to donate to the podcast, we also have a donation page. It's ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you got something of great value from this podcast with Gillian McGann.